The guy that was using this boot here, Jordan, he was in a lot of pain at Whistler, so we're trying to fix his boot. So you can see how we have to get that big, where the X is there, we have to get the big toe there. And right around here we got another X. There's some issues there with his feet. Over here he's got issues all along here. Up here we'll probably drop the board underneath the liner, and that's by grinding down the bottom of the board. We're actually pushing up a little bit when I finish my punch. We have a hydraulic unit here, a hydraulic pump. I'm just going to turn the valve tight and shut off the valve so we can pump the fluid. You can see the plunger down there. And now what we're going to be doing, you can just sort of watch what happens in the toe area. The mandrel is going to get pushed forward. So, and as we're pumping, as you can see here, you can see that toe getting bigger and bigger. What we have to watch here is that the toe does not go beyond the lug, the toe lug here, because the binding's not going to work properly. But then when we have it cool down there, it'll actually come back a little bit. So just showing you the shape of the mandrel here that was in the boot. And we make these up ourselves. This is basically how it works. You can see that here's your plunger here, and that's a heel piece right there. These are shims that we keep adding shims depending on the size of the boot. And here of course is the hydraulic pump. So you know, that's your valve that allows the fluid to pass through the plunger, and of course as you can see what it's doing there. So, and it just stretches the toe piece against the heel. I think I was probably the first guy to use plastic wood that I've heard of that you know, was shaping mandrels by using plastic wood. Get a machinist to shape aluminum, you could spend you know, thousands of dollars. I'll just show you some of the stuff I've shaped. I've made a lot of pieces through the years. This is plastic wood. If you buy these pieces, if you can get them, they're worth a lot of money. They could be worth from 40 to 80 bucks. So that's why I make them up. And I make them to different shapes of feet. So you have lots of them, and it helps us to work a lot faster when we're boot fitting. We can, if we got enough shapes, you can eyeball a person's foot and you can pick the shape, and it saves a lot of time. So using the two different machines here because we're expanding the sides on the outside here, and we're trying to push the toe as well. You don't have to use this machine here because we're not doing any ankle bones. And now this one here, we've been expanding this for some time. I've got these mandrels. Let's see if we can find some down here. Here they are. We add this here. Yeah, let's see if we can get a good little picture of it there. There. So that'll help along the outside of the boot there. And the idea behind it is to stretch this. That's what these things do. They go wider. There's a little wedge here. That little wedge, as it gets pushed into the bars here, it widens these, so they actually spread apart. These things heat up. That's what this is all about. I put a timer on here. Those buttons activate this piece right over here, these bars here. There's other things. This can be activated, our press here as well. So this will actually do this, and that helps spread the boot open there a little. I just finished doing the right boot. Let's push the toe ahead by those little marks there, and we've widened it considerably, as you can see. In our press here, I had a lot of pieces made up by a friend that's a machinist. You can see all these different size balls here that we've got made up. We got piles of them here. And we've got another press over here as well. But this is an old Scott press. I've kind of redone it a few times by some machinist friends. And basically how it works, so it's about a medium size. We'll put that in there. And we can use one of many, you know, pieces for the male and the female end there. And that's for punching out where you got the malleolus, the ankle bone. bone spurs so we can actually compress the plastic. You can see how these pieces work there. We basically heat up the plastic and then we come down and we compress. And you got to be careful if you're doing it, let's say down around a rivet area here, which is where your ankle bone is, and we do lots of punches in this area. You got to be careful you don't damage that rivet or pop the rivet. Also bone spurs we can do, you know, people get bone spurs, and we got smaller mandrels for that. These little guys right here. I make up a bunch of these too, and they can be used. Between the press and of course the big machine here and the hydraulics, we can usually do a fair amount of work. We also can do stuff like we can bend the back of the plastic for somebody that has a really big calf, like I call it the Campbell soup can bend. We took a couple of big cans and we just heated this whole area up, and then with a bit of muscle we were able to bend the back of that. For women, that's a common problem too. We can also grind the bottom of footboards, and I make special wedges. They're long wedges, not short wedges, so they taper down to the toe to give you room in the toe area. But if you're putting a wedge in, you have to watch because of the talus bone there and the navicular bone. You can get, that's a nerve center, and you can create problems there. So that's why I make really long wedges. They're tapered down, so your toe area is good. All you're trying to do is drive things up into that heel pocket there. You can see the shape of the heel pocket. When you lift up, it jams in there. And yet you don't want the metatarsal to bend like you're in a high heel, so you just have a long taper. And I make those. I make them out of material, grind them down, and they seem to work well. I put lots into boots for people, and they've come back and told me they seem to work. So anyways, we better get these boots done, and I'd like to get out and do some snowboarding today.